Welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wisdom is worth spreading. Wishing you a delightful listening experience. Today, I'm here to decode this book for you, titled Mean Genes. Its subtitle reads, From Sex to Money to Food, Taming Our Primal Instincts. You've probably had experiences like this before. Just a few days ago, you set a weight loss plan for yourself, but today your friends invite you to a feast, and you couldn't resist indulging, ruining your diet plan. It's as if those New Year resolutions you made to become a better version of yourself are forgotten until you open your notebook, only to discover that most of those plans never made it past the first couple of days, or sometimes they never even started. Why is it so hard to control ourselves? This book tells us that it's perfectly normal, and it's not because you lack discipline, it's an instinctual issue. Instincts, driven by emotions, control our behavior. You might find this strange. Instincts should lead us towards benefiting and avoiding harm. They should make us better, aligning with the principles of evolution. So why have our instincts become obstacles? It's due to a mismatch between evolution and our present circumstances. Many instincts that once protected us are no longer suited to our current environment. Take our bodies, for example, they are more suited for the hunting and gathering lifestyle of our ancestors, but today, most people have sedentary jobs, leading to various health problems. Similarly, in ancient times, people favored high-calorie foods to store energy for survival, but now food is abundant, and yet our preference for high-calorie foods persists, resulting in overeating and obesity. In the end, many irrational behaviors stem from our instincts, which were originally designed to keep us alive but have now become hindrances. If we dig a little deeper, we find that instincts are rooted in our genes. As the famous book, The Selfish Gene, suggests, we are containers for genes. Our behavior is heavily influenced by our genes, but they don't dictate everything. Just like diseases, we all carry the genes for heart disease, but not everyone develops it. In other words, we are not entirely passive, we can take action, and these actions, in turn, shape us. This book has two authors. One is Terry Burnham, who holds a PhD in business economics from Harvard University. The other is Phelan, a biology professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, with a focus on evolutionary genetics. The book draws on solid scientific research and methods that the authors have personally practiced to improve their lives. So, this book tells us that understanding our instincts is the first step towards finding a better way to coexist with them. It's like a pair of glasses that may not solve all your problems but will help you see the world more clearly. The second step to change is taking action. However, the authors also remind us that lasting change doesn't come from a single dramatic event, it's the accumulation of countless small adjustments. It's like redesigning a car. If a designer wants to reduce the weight of the car by 500 kilograms, the best approach isn't a major overhaul but finding 1,000 places to shave off 0.5 kilograms each. That's the advice the authors offer: understand your instincts and start making small tweaks. This way, change won't feel overwhelming, and over time, you'll see noticeable improvements. Following this line of thought, I'll break down this book into two parts for you. In the first part, we'll explore how instincts shape our bad habits and how we can change them. In the second part, we'll delve into three levels: self, partner, and others, to discuss how we can better coexist with our primal instincts and lead happier lives. In the first part, let's talk about how instincts shape our bad habits. If you've ever tried to lose weight, you might be familiar with this scenario. It's 11 p.m., and you're feeling a bit hungry. You know it's not a good idea to snack so late, but you can't resist grabbing a cookie. You originally planned to buy some fruit at the supermarket, but when you reached the soda aisle, that cola you love was on sale and almost gone, so you grabbed one. Don't feel guilty, this is entirely normal. It's not your fault, it's your instincts interfering with you. Let's go back to ancient times when there were two groups of people. One group had a hearty appetite, eating more and often. The other group ate until they were full and didn't eat again for a while. The latter group had excess energy stored as fat, which could be used when food was scarce. This allowed them to survive through hunger more easily. In an environment with limited food, those with extra fat had a higher chance of survival. In other words, our instinct to store energy enhanced our survival, acting as a booster for evolution. However, today, it has become a hindrance to our evolution, endangering our health. Numerous medical studies now indicate that overweight individuals have a higher risk of various diseases, such as heart disease and diabetes. Now that you understand this, your feelings of guilt may diminish. So, what's next? We need to change. Most weight loss methods involve either dieting or exercising, but this book reminds us that our instincts make both of these methods challenging. Let's discuss the first method, dieting, trying to lose weight by eating less. It's a method many have attempted, but the book suggests that its effectiveness is limited. Instincts make it almost impossible for us to endure hunger for extended periods. Scientists have also found that the longer a person goes hungry, the stronger their craving for high-fat foods becomes. Once you can't resist, you might indulge in these fatty foods, rendering your previous efforts futile. Besides, resisting the urge to eat when you're hungry diminishes your overall quality of life. We know that a person's willpower is limited. If you expend too much willpower on resisting hunger between meals, you'll have less willpower for other important tasks. Additionally, research has shown that hungry people tend to have shorter tempers, affecting both efficiency and interpersonal relationships. Dieting also has more severe consequences. It can harm your health. Think of your body as a car and food as its fuel. If you don't have enough fuel, the car loses its power. Similarly, when you're hungry, your body automatically slows down or reduces the function of certain systems to preserve energy for essential survival. Since dieting is challenging and can harm your health, what about the alternative, exercising to lose weight? While effective, it's easier said than done. Everyone, regardless of their fitness level, faces moments of laziness. This inclination toward energy conservation stems from our evolutionary history. Humans prefer saving energy over expending it to ensure energy storage. So, we've discussed two methods, dieting and exercising. One is difficult to sustain and potentially harmful, while the other is challenging to start and execute consistently. Is there a simpler way to lose weight? Before we get into specific methods, here's a real-life example mentioned in the book. A pharmaceutical company studied the effectiveness of a weight loss drug and found that over a quarter of the people who took a placebo, a fake drug, also lost weight. How is this possible? Well, those who took the placebo did one thing differently: they recorded what they ate daily. So, when it comes to controlling your weight, a simpler method than dieting or exercising is tracking your food intake. While it won't directly reduce your calorie consumption, it acts as a reminder of what you're eating, making you more aware of your energy intake. This conscious control of your diet can be more effective. If you're someone who enjoys planning your life, you can take your weight loss plan a step further. Plan in advance what you'll eat each day within a specific range of options. For example, you can choose chicken or beef for meat, broccoli or corn for vegetables, and strawberries or blueberries for fruit. Once you've planned, stick to these options and avoid anything else. By limiting your choices, you'll likely consume enough to feel full without constantly thinking about eating less. You can also replace high-sugar, high-fat foods with healthier alternatives ahead of time to prevent getting too hungry. For instance, opt for whole wheat bread instead of reaching for barbecue snacks. If you often get hungry between lunch and dinner and can't resist cakes or chocolates, prepare a healthier and more filling snack option. In essence, this second weight loss method is about prevention. While it's challenging to eat less, you can decide what you eat. Instead of constantly battling hunger, plan ahead and apply the brakes on impulse before your self-control slips away. Apart from obesity, there's another bad habit we have that's related to our instinctual preference for storing energy rather than expending it: spending money. Have you ever wondered why it's so challenging to save money? As soon as you receive your paycheck, you can't resist the urge to spend it on things you don't really need. Sometimes, in the heat of the moment, you buy items impulsively. This book tells us that this behavior is not your fault, it's a natural human instinct. To understand why, let's go back to ancient times when the most valuable resource was food. Our ancestors had to find food, but it would spoil if not consumed quickly. Therefore, the best way to preserve the energy provided by food was to eat it as soon as possible. This attitude towards wealth formed back then. Our brains have designed our behavior based on those ancient circumstances. Later on, money and food became distinct, and we had money, but we still have the impulse to spend it quickly. You might argue that money and food are different, but compared to our long evolutionary history, human economic history is relatively short. Humans evolved over millions of years, while our history of dealing with money spans just a few centuries. We haven't had time to evolve instincts related to caring about money. Essentially, the way we perceive money today follows the same principles as how primitive humans viewed food. In our brain's perspective, the best way to handle wealth is not to save it but to spend it quickly, as instincts worry about wealth devaluing, just as they were concerned about food spoiling. Spending money is fine if it enhances your quality of life. However, the issue arises when people spend money on things that don't improve their lives or even make their lives more difficult. Some even borrow money to finance their consumption. So, how can we counteract our instinct to spend money impulsively? This book provides several methods, and I'll summarize the 3 most practical ones that you can use. 1. Establish automatic savings. Cultivate a habit of saving by setting up automatic deposits into a savings account. This way, you save money without having to think about it consciously. 2. Create a financial plan. Remember the principle that if you need to borrow, seek low interest rates, and if you're saving, aim for high interest rates. Try to avoid unnecessary borrowing, as loan interest rates are typically much higher than savings interest rates. This principle might sound simple, but it's often overlooked. For example, if you owe $3,000 on your credit card but have $2,000 in savings, it's best to pay off the credit card first. Let's do a quick calculation. The interest rate on your savings account is around 0.35%, but that's an annual rate. If you keep $2,000 in the account for 1 day, you'll earn about 2 cents. In contrast, the credit card's interest rate, once it becomes overdue, is around 0.05% per day. If you owe $3,000, every day overdue costs you an additional $1.50. If you pay off $2,000 from your savings, you'd only owe an extra 50 cents per day. Consider which option is more cost-effective. 3. Hide a portion of your income. If you can't see the money, you're less likely to spend it impulsively. You can keep less cash in your wallet and leave only the amount needed for monthly expenses. Save the rest in a separate savings account or investments. You can also reserve some as emergency funds for unforeseen expenses. It's essential to remain vigilant about being excessively optimistic about the future when managing money. Many people believe they can pay off debts quickly, but managing finances is one of the most challenging tasks in the world. Otherwise, there wouldn't be fields like finance and economics with countless scholars dedicated to studying money-related issues. If obesity and overspending are linked to our innate inclination to consume resources, why do we develop addictions to certain substances like alcohol and nicotine, even though we know they're harmful to our bodies? These addictions are not due to personal flaws but rather because humans naturally seek pleasure. Substances like alcohol and nicotine stimulate the release of dopamine in our bodies, creating a sense of pleasure. This anticipation of pleasure acts as a reward, continuously stimulating our brains. The brain finds it challenging to resist this form of reward. So, what's the best approach when dealing with addictive substances? The best strategy is to avoid them altogether from the beginning. However, there's another addictive behavior to consider: gambling. Throughout history, gambling has been a business, leading to the creation of famous gambling cities like Las Vegas and Monte Carlo. Why do people enjoy gambling even when they know it's risky? It's because they hold on to a glimmer of hope and believe they have a chance to turn things around. For those who gamble, it's not just the reward that attracts them, it's also the desire for that reward, which can be even stronger than the reward itself. They tend to believe they will win. This optimistic expectation triggers dopamine release in the brain, leading to feelings of happiness. If we delve deeper into the physiology, gambling is essentially a form of risk-taking, similar to activities like racing, rock climbing, or skydiving. So, the core issue behind gambling addiction is why humans are drawn to taking risks in the first place. To understand this, we need to go back to ancient times. We know that all animals have instincts for seeking gains and avoiding harm. Animals take risks when they expect the potential rewards to outweigh the losses. Imagine facing a formidable opponent. If they realize they can't win, they'll immediately retreat because, compared to fighting, fleeing is the better option. Fighting demands physical effort and carries the risk of losing one's life, while fleeing ensures survival. However, if there's no escape, the situation changes. In such cases, taking risks by engaging in combat offers a slim chance of survival, and that's worth pursuing for the potentially higher gains. These choices present themselves, and capturing that slim chance for greater rewards becomes tempting. Therefore, the ancestors who survived these risky encounters passed on their genes to us. We are the descendants of those who successfully took risks in perilous situations. This inherent instinct for risk-taking manifests differently in each person. Some children might enjoy amusement park rides like roller coasters, while others seek novelty in answers to complex questions. These behaviors all fundamentally involve risk-taking. Although we now live in a world where we face social complexities rather than the natural dangers our ancestors encountered, we still rely on intuition more often than not. This leads to frequent miscalculations. For example, this book mentions that the odds of winning the California state lottery are 18 million to 1. The probability of falling out of bed and dying is 9 times higher. So, those hoping to make a fortune through gambling often end up losing. How can we deal with our instinctual impulses for risk-taking? The best approach is to establish boundaries in advance. This principle applies to investment decisions, where you should set a stop-loss point, as well as to activities like extreme sports. Before engaging in such activities, assess your physical condition and prioritize safety. Enjoy the experience within safe conditions. In summary, in this first section, we've discussed 3 human instincts: the inclination to obesity and overspending due to our tendency to conserve energy, addiction driven by our desire for pleasure, and risk-taking rooted in our ancestors' survival instincts. Understanding these instincts doesn't absolve us of responsibility but helps us find better ways to coexist with them and improve our lives. Moving on to the second part, let's explore how to better coexist with our instincts and improve our lives. Before delving into specific methods, let's discuss an experiment mentioned in the book, which was conducted in 3 phases. In the first phase, participants were asked to immerse one hand in ice-cold water and endure it for 60 seconds. In the second phase, they submerged their other hand into the icy water for 60 seconds as well, but this time, they had to endure an additional 30 seconds as the water gradually warmed, transitioning from extremely cold to less cold. In the third phase, participants were given a choice based on their experiences in the previous 2 phases. Would they prefer to immerse their hand in ice-cold water for 60 seconds or in less cold water for 90 seconds? What choice would you make? Interestingly, many participants opted for the second option, immersing their hand for 90 seconds. The results might seem counterintuitive, but the book offers an explanation. Although they endured the cold for a longer duration, the gradual warming of the water during the last 30 seconds represented a positive trend, making them feel better. This preference for positive change over a static state suggests that we are naturally inclined to embrace positive variations, even if they entail some discomfort. The book also introduces a thought-provoking idea: happiness is merely a tool for our genes to achieve their goals, not an end in itself. Let's dive into this concept. Many people have daydreamed about a life where they have plenty of time and money, allowing them to structure their days as they please, sleeping in, indulging in their favorite foods, and spending time leisurely. However, if you were to actually live such a life, you might feel content initially but eventually find it boring. To illustrate this, you can conduct a simplified experiment on your own. Set aside a chunk of time during a holiday, and do absolutely nothing: sleep in, eat whatever you want, play on your phone, and so on. After a few days, you'll likely experience a certain feeling. So, when do we truly feel happy? It's not necessarily when all our desires are fulfilled, but rather when we achieve our goals. You might have heard of the concept of flow, where people are highly focused, mentally calm, and experience a sense of happiness. This state occurs when you have a challenging goal and apply your skills to work towards it. Furthermore, studies suggest that people are more likely to enter this state while working, as opposed to leisure activities. In essence, our genes are inherently inclined towards progress. The book also discusses the role of expectations in happiness. One formula suggests that satisfaction equals performance minus expectations. In simpler terms, when you perform well and have low expectations, you feel content. When your results exceed your expectations, you feel even happier. Think about why surprises make us happy: they surpass our expectations. To summarize, positive change, goal achievement, and maintaining reasonable expectations contribute to our sense of happiness. Armed with this understanding of the key factors that influence our happiness, we can proactively design our lives for greater well-being. For example, you can maintain an upward trajectory in your life by setting incremental goals, providing yourself with regular feedback, and savoring the satisfaction of each achievement. Lowering your expectations while concentrating on your current tasks and goals can also lead to happiness. When you eventually accomplish your goals, or even surpass them, you'll experience greater happiness. Consider fitness as an example. At the beginning of your fitness journey, you might witness significant progress, sparking enthusiasm. However, after some time, progress may slow, leading to a plateau. During this phase, you may feel fatigued. How can you find joy in your fitness journey? You can set more specific short-term goals, such as weekly or daily targets, to receive more immediate feedback and a sense of accomplishment. This approach can alleviate the fatigue caused by prolonged feedback cycles. Additionally, embarking on a new fitness activity can introduce novelty and increased happiness, especially during the rapid progress stage. Having covered the fundamental principles of happiness and their corresponding strategies, we can now consciously work towards a happier and more fulfilling life. Next, let's discuss how to coexist with our instincts and make our lives happier at 3 levels: ourselves, our partners, and others. We are naturally drawn to attractive individuals. While personal preferences for beauty vary, there are common traits that people find appealing, such as smooth skin, height, and symmetry. Why are these traits universally preferred? It's because they often signify good genetics. Research has also found that people are more attracted to women with a waist-to-hip ratio of 0.7, which is often referred to as the golden ratio. Why 0.7? This preference is rooted in evolution. Numerous studies have confirmed that women with a 0.7 waist-to-hip ratio have the highest resistance to pregnancy-related diseases, such as gestational diabetes. Therefore, women with this ratio have the lowest risk of these conditions. Moreover, they have a lower probability of developing cardiovascular diseases and uterine cancer. Men also have a golden waist-to-hip ratio, which is slightly higher at 0.9. However, it's essential to note that while genes play a role in our attraction to better-looking individuals, humans value qualities beyond appearance. People are inclined to appreciate honesty and reliability, which are qualities that can be cultivated through personal development. Now, let's shift our focus to our closest relationships, our partners. One of the reasons for divorce is infidelity. Marriage, essentially, is a type of contract. In early societies, men primarily provided for the family, so their commitment was centered around earning money. Women dedicated more time to family and were responsible for reproduction. Their commitment lay in their fertility. However, societal changes have occurred rapidly, with women becoming more involved in the workforce. As women gained economic independence, men's financial commitment in marriage became less critical. Women also desired more autonomy in reproductive decisions. In this changing landscape, the binding power of commitment in marriage has weakened. So, how can we maintain healthier relationships with our partners in such a context? The book suggests some methods, with understanding each other's feelings being paramount. You can share more about your life with your partner and genuinely listen to their feelings. In a marriage, each individual is no longer entirely independent but a part of a shared entity. Often, the breakdown of trust is the most direct cause of a marriage falling apart, and trust takes a long time to establish but can be easily eroded. Having too many secrets or harboring suspicions can corrode the trust built over time. Psychologists have discussed a classic theory known as the love triangle theory. Commitment is one of its 3 sides, with passion and intimacy making up the other 2 sides. A perfect love relationship requires all 3 elements to be present. While finding perfect love is challenging, you can still enhance your relationship by examining these 3 elements. For instance, by honoring your commitments, sharing the responsibilities of marriage, and creating surprises for each other, you can add romance and passion to the routine of everyday life. Spend time chatting with each other during leisure hours to foster greater intimacy. In conclusion, understanding human instincts and applying this knowledge to our relationships can lead to happier lives. We are instinctively drawn to certain physical attributes, but qualities like honesty and reliability can be cultivated. In our relationships, trust and commitment play crucial roles. By appreciating these factors and nurturing passion and intimacy, we can improve our bonds with our partners and make our lives more fulfilling. Lastly, let's talk about interactions with others. It was mentioned that we tend to measure gains and losses based on our instincts. When we do good for others, it's not entirely selfless but often driven by the desire for mutual benefit. In other words, the more we give to others, the more we may receive in return. While this might sound somewhat calculating, it provides a new perspective on relationships. The book discusses an experiment in which researchers asked people to simulate the roles of bosses and employees. The bosses gave red envelopes to some employees while not giving any to others. Surprisingly, the employees who received red envelopes tended to work harder. These gifts essentially represent a form of benefit-based interaction, playing a significant role in building relationships. However, the book also warns that overly extravagant gifts can disrupt relationships by upsetting the balance of interests. You might wonder if there are situations where people genuinely help others without expecting anything in return. The book points out that these instances often occur in emergencies or when the cost of assistance is low for the helper. An experiment conducted at Princeton Theological Seminary illustrates this. Students were told that they were running late or had plenty of time, and then they encountered a person in distress who needed help. Those who believed they had plenty of time were more likely to stop and offer assistance, 63%, while only 10% of those who thought they were running late stopped to help. This doesn't mean we lack kindness. It simply reflects our instincts to act based on perceived benefits for both ourselves and others. To foster positive cooperation with others, we need to create an environment of collaboration while maintaining a balance of interests. When there is a promising prospect for all parties to benefit, building cooperative relationships becomes easier. Additionally, providing visible benefits to collaborators can make them happier and facilitate smoother cooperation. Reciprocity is a human instinct, and if you are more sincere and thoughtful, your partners will also sense this, resulting in more effective collaboration. In summary, we've covered the essence of instincts from this book. Let's review. In the first part, we discussed the three instincts of humans: the tendency to conserve energy, the desire for happiness, resulting in addictions, and the pursuit of rewards, leading to risk-taking. In the second part, we explored how to coexist with these instincts in relation to ourselves, our partners, and others. Understanding these instincts empowers us to stay vigilant and not be manipulated by them, enabling us to take more rational actions. Now, you stand at a crossroads. You can choose to act solely based on your instincts, a path taken by all animals. Or you can opt for the more challenging path, unique to humans, which involves conscious control of your behavior. By walking this path, you'll discover a better version of yourself and a better life. Remember, the power of choice rests in your hands. This concludes the content of this audiobook. Congratulations on completing another book. We appreciate your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth spreading as we embark on a brighter future. Thank you, and goodbye.